Hey everyone, welcome back once again to Vicious Chats. I am Tim Vicious. With me today, making his triumphant return, Alejandro the Great Brown Hope, but he is not alone. Dude, you want to give us a bit of an introduction for your partner here?
Yeah, what's up? Tell us what your name is. Tell us where you're from.
Hey, I'm Kyle Rozcoe. I say amateur pro wrestler, I think is the best way that I
Wow.
like to describe it. I'm from Everett, Washington. I train in Everett, Washington. I'm born and raised in Everett, Washington. And maybe even more importantly, I'm a really big wrestling fan. You can call me Kyle or you can call me Mark if you want to. I respond to both.
Nice. Nice.
There you go. So what got you into wrestling? Like, was it like just something you kind of grew up in, or was it like you discovered it and then you saw this one kind of match and it was like, oh my God, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it was sort of all encompassing, right? Like, I mean, my dad was a big wrestling fan when I was a kid. He was the first person to ever put his hand on top of my head and punch the back of his own hand and then push me. And I didn't really know what was going on. I just knew that it looked cool and it didn't hurt that bad. And so, I've been having, as we call work punches thrown at me for a long time. And then personality wise, I just was really drawn to Attitude Era. I was telling Tim earlier, like I'm 33 years old. So like that's what I came up with. I came up with The Rock. I came up learning how to raise the eyebrow. Like I really, I grew up in that. And then through adulthood, I had like a weird, 16 to 26, that like decade for me. I was sort of a degenerate. And I always wanted to become a pro wrestler. I just never put myself in the position. And then I got myself in a pretty good spot professionally now. And over the past like 4 months, I got hooked up with a local promotion, lost 30 pounds and said, let's go.
What
That's
was the
awesome.
point where like you said, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for it. Tell us about that.
Oh man. It's I don't know if people who are spiritual or not. I got a little bit of that in me, but there was my first day in the gym, right? When I decided that I wanted to get in shape. This was now 8 or 9 months ago. I went to the gym with my little brother and I was on the Stairmaster and I was wearing a t-shirt, Cole Crazy t-shirt, who's a good friend of mine, who's a sort of a local underground Seattle wrestling legend to some degree. And I was like a groomsman at his wedding and I always like kind of flirted with him about getting into it, but never really thought that I would. And he wrestled with a guy named Dave Turner, who now owns Dragonplex, which is the dojo that I train at, and Peak Sports Entertainment, which is the show that is ran by a lot of the guys at Dragonplex. And I was on the Stairmaster, and I looked down, and I wasn't wearing glasses, so I couldn't see very well. And I was like, I think that's Dave Turner in the gym, my first day in the gym trying to get in shape. And I looked at my brother, and he's like, who's Dave Turner? And I was like, I think it's the guy who's going to teach me how to wrestle.
Nice.
And as I got off the Stairmaster, he had seen me from across the room and he walked up to me and said, hey, nice shirt. I'm Dave. And I was like, I know who you are. And about 4 months later, his dojo opened up for trainees and I was the first one to sign up.
That's awesome.
All right.
That's awesome. So you're doing the training, you're doing the weightlifting and the exercising. Let me ask, are you taking it like a train to failure kind of approach with the exercising, or are you going at it more like, no, I'm just doing it to I'm just gonna get myself in decent shape and then work from there?
That's a great question. And I have a handful of people that have asked me about fitness lately. And the one thing that I always like to say is like a lot like pro wrestling, like there's a lot of different styles that can work and you really got to find what's going to get you where you want to get you. For me, I needed some accountability. So I signed up at that gym that it's called Big Iron Gym. They've got 3 gyms here in my area in Western Washington. I knew the owners from my previous job, and so I got hooked up with their training program. And so they did my diet, they did my full, my splits for my exercise and all that different type of stuff. So it's actually changed. So it started with really, really consistent diet. Like I told you, it was 30 pounds, but like 5 of that was water weight. So I like to say it was more between 20 and 25 pounds that I lost of actual like fat. And that was almost purely diet. With of course some exercise, but if you fix your diet, you can fix anything. And then they had my whole regular, well-rounded exercise thing put together. And now Dave, the guy who I told you who owns Dragonplex, or one of the 2 owners of Dragonplex, he's also a personal trainer. And so now, I pay for training, but I don't have to pay for personal training anymore because Dave will hook it up. And so he's changed a little bit of my stuff. Now I do a lot less weight. And I do like 5 sets of 20 as opposed to like 3 sets of heavier weight, because for hypertrophy and building muscle, more reps will take care of your chest and arms a little bit more. And then also for retention, really, I'm 33 years old getting into a wrestling ring for the first time. I got to make sure I don't get hurt because I don't got that much time. So
yeah, I get that. Listen, I'm what I know. I knew a couple of the indie guys that worked here in Erie for the indie scene here, and they all called the backyard guys yardards. I don't know if that's a term you heard up here over there or not, but yeah, I was a yardard from the time I was 12 until I was 27.
Yeah.
And I started doing weights when I was like 17 or 18, and I knew nothing about a whole ton of food, ton of weights kind of set. And that's why I ask you on that, because I learned the hard way. That is one of the worst ways to go, because I felt like I had 260-pound weights on each ankle, and I felt all big and bloated like that girl in Willy Wonka, the girl who was all blue.
Oh, yeah. Violet.
Yeah. That's who.
Veruca, right?
Yeah.
I think Veruca was the mean one, but Violet was the one that blew up like a blue.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Never do the. You will never hear me endorse the ton of food, ton of weights kind, because now I do like a mix of powerlifting and muscle confusion, but I'm also super heavy on cardio. And I'm teaching, and my son, he's 14 going on 15. And he asked me to teach him about weightlifting. So, and I tell him, listen, there's all different kinds of styles. I'm going to give you the blueprints to learn. You figure it out once you're old enough to start going here on your own and do this on your own. Because everyone's got different styles. Your uncle, he's got a whole different style compared to me. Well, what's he do? He trains like, okay, to put it simple, Dad trains like he's like you're telling him you need him to walk through a wall. Your uncle trains like he's trying to survive in in Roman Coliseum. Oh. So yeah, that's why I'm always big on find your groove, find what's best for you on that. And definitely with the diet plan, that's definitely big ups, because that's another thing I had to explain to my son, like you can't out train a bad diet.
Yeah, the issue is I really like Ritz Bit sandwiches with cheese. And
wait. A Ritz Bit sandwich with cheese?
Yeah. So there's the tiny ones, but now they've got the the throwback 8 crackers in a plastic container thing. It's about that big. So now they've got those size ones too, and I can't leave Winco without them. I don't know if y'all got Winco over there, but
we do have. I'm gonna have to find those. I haven't had one of those. Holy shit.
No, because dude, that just honestly, that sounds like something I would have made back when I was in college trying to go. That sounds like something I would have made back in college after I hit a bowl.
Yeah. Now when I'm talking about getting in shape, I'm like that. It's all Ritz Bits with cheese. That's all it is.
Nice.
I tell my son all the time, behind this well-muscled physique lies an inner fat kid who wants waffle ice cream sandwiches all the time.
Yeah. Same. I feel you. Yeah. Mine's the peanut butter and jelly ones. Remember those old school crackers?
Yeah.
The field trips. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I never trained to be a wrestler or actually like weight lifted, but when I was an iron worker, when I was 19, 20 years old, I had to hang with the big boys, and all I would eat were raw eggs, dog, to gain the muscle I needed because we would travel and we were constantly lifting weights. But my cheat meal were those cracker sandwiches because they still had them in stores at the time at Costco. It would be like a box of I think 50 for like $15. And
Yeah.
I would put those in my hard hat, you know, and then when I get hungry, I'd pull it out like in Little Giants. Remember that? When you take the sandwich out of the
Yeah.
helmet?
The coach is a vampire. Don't put your sandwich in the helmet, son.
My mom made that. So yeah, everybody's training is different. Mine was also cardio too because we were walking around all day. So I know exactly what you guys mean. You got to load up, and some don't actually have to load up to get bigger, but
Yeah.
Genetics is way too much of it. Yeah, that's the scary part is my mom's I look a lot more like my mom, so I think I get a lot of it from her. I'm built a lot more like she is, but my dad's like 5'8", 5'7". He was a really high level amateur wrestler, like shoot wrestler. And he just really built guy. And I'm closer to 6. I'm just under 6 feet tall. I walk around at like 205. I think that if I just did cardio and ate okay, I'd probably lean towards like 190. If I'm a little bit more out of shape, I can get up to 225. But I don't really have that like mass upper body wise. And so I do have to put a lot of work in. And for me, if I'm going to have like a singlet top on or something without sleeves, like I want to look dope. Like I want to look like you wouldn't want to mess with me. And so that's where a lot of the work is going in right now.
I'll tell you this now. If you want to build up,
right?
Yeah.
One more time.
Technically, you're a second generation wrestler then.
Kinda, yeah. Kinda.
Bloodline.
I'll give you this. I'll tell you this now. I don't know if they brought it up to you, but if you want to build your biceps up bigger, what you can do is you do hammer curls.
Oh yeah.
Do hammer curls. You do them. That'll help build up the mass on there bigger.
The one thing that I'm about to add, actually, a guy that I work with, I just asked him yesterday because finally I was just like, dude, like this is almost a disrespectful question because of how good you look, but like you must lift, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, how do you get your chest like that? Because this dude's like, he's a little bit shorter than me, but probably weighs about as much as I do. But he's built like, he just looks spectacular. And I was like, how do you get your chest like that? And he said the big one that he does is like the stand-up cable, like this. And he goes from all resistance 3 angles. Cable. Exactly. And he's like, I like to, I start with really low weight. And he goes, it really works your upper pec. And what people don't realize is bench works your middle and lower pec. And what makes your actual chest look bigger is upper pec. And I haven't been doing enough of it, so I'm starting to vary it. And I think by the time I'm actually in the ring, hopefully I'll have some titty on me, if you know what I mean.
Nice. Hell yeah, it's a good way to put
it. Yeah, push-ups will help with that also, because push-ups is basically just bench pressing your own body weight.
Yeah, I have no choice but to do that because I'm sure we'll get into some of this later, but a lot of the movement in the ring, especially when you're talking about learning the beginning of the dance, there's a lot of up and down and up and overs and stuff like that. And so like burpee and push up type of stuff, we've got to be able to do 1,000 times without blinking or you'll blow up.
1,000 burpees?
Not literally, but
I was gonna say, like, whoa, wait, what? Because listen, I can hit about maybe 50 Hindi squats. Yeah. No, I can hit about 50 Hindi. I can hit about 50 Hindis before my legs give out.
Yeah.
And that's coming from somebody with a bad back.
No, I hear that same here.
Yeah,
my back will never be the same. It's all good.
Yeah, it's
so
way too young to feel this damn old.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only 34.
So when you started going to the school, so when you first signed up for school, how like when you brought it up to your family and all, how did they take it? Because I know you hear some stories where you hear mom and dad be like, "Oh, okay, well, have fun with that." But you also hear some people go and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that wrestling crap. Get out of here."
Yeah. So I think the big, there's some people that weren't surprised at all. So like my best friend growing up, he wasn't surprised in the least bit that it finally happened. Cody, who used to go by Cole Crazy, he was I think that he wasn't surprised that I said I was going to do it. But I think that now he's probably getting a little bit more and more surprised by how much time I've put in. And, you know, there's this little part of me that really wants to try and pull him out of retirement for even if it's just for 5 minutes to come. And I told him that one of my dreams is I want him to hit me with his finisher and I want to kick out of it. And then I want him to hit me with it twice and then me not kick out of it. I said, I just have this like vision of like, I don't need to beat you. I'm not worried about that, but I just want to kick out of your finisher once. So he's probably a little bit surprised, but like, I'm actually getting married today.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Congratulations.
Yeah. And she, I think maybe surprised is the word. But what she's definitely not surprised by is the passion that came with it after I decided to do it. I have a very obsessive mind. I don't even like to say addictive personality. Like, I have an obsessive personality, and I get in this spot where I wake up and I've got like Al Snow YouTube video before I get out of bed about how to get heat, you know, like it's just becomes a total passion. So some people surprised, some people not.
You know, I'm glad you brought up heat because I brought this up to Alejandro when we first discussed about doing this. When I was doing the yard stuff, he asked me to bring this story up. When I was doing my backyard stuff, I was tag teaming at first. And that's where the name Tim Vicious came from. I was Tim Vicious. My partner was Tommy Rotten. We were the Pistols. Just, yeah, we worked with what we had. It wasn't nothing fancy, but
gimmick's a gimmick.
Yeah, and the name stuck. Plus, Vicious sounds cool on anything you put on it.
Now you got Vicious Rants, baby.
Yeah. Exactly. but wound up when our team broke up and we started going solo, the guy we had booking our matches, because we were all smart enough to know, no, we can't just we can't let the inmates run the asylum, because we're just going to have the same people fight everyone all the time and nothing's going to get done. We were smart enough to know that, but not smart enough to listen to the don't try this at home.
Yeah.
But I got told, all right, Tim, you're going to be a heel. Well, okay. Is there any restrictions, like anything I should or shouldn't do? No, just fly off the cuff, be you. Really?
Yeah.
And you see that Cheshire grin I got, and it was, if you've ever seen the Dudley Boys and ECW Heatwave 2000, yeah, I would get that kind of heat.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would go out there and I would do everything possible. If I didn't make you leave a show wanting to beat the crap out of me, I didn't feel like I did my job.
Right.
Like, nobody was off limits. Like, there was this 10-year-old kid. He kept heckling me throughout the whole match. And halfway through, I'm like, wait, you suck. I suck. Yeah, you suck. I suck. Yeah, you're at a backyard show wearing a DX shirt. Who's the one that sucks, kid? And I trashed him, and then I trashed his brother that brought him to it, and all. I would do anything. Like, I got told, like, it got to the point where I would have to bring a different set of clothes that was like 2 sizes bigger and hide my face under a hood when I left. So, like, that way I didn't have to fight my way out.
I feel that. That's tight.
But yeah, man, if you're going working as a heel, definitely don't be afraid of heat. That's one thing I definitely would want to say. Don't be afraid of getting heat, and don't be afraid if you got to piss people off. If you got to piss the fans off, man, piss them off.
You know, I think what's that?
No, I was saying take the piss out of them.
Yeah, exactly. You know, one of the things that I'm the most grateful for, I think, is like I go to a dojo every Tuesday and Wednesday for, well, really 4 hours. It doesn't start until 6, but I get there at 4. And I get to work with real pros. Like, I'm in there with these guys that, like, you know, when I was at AEW, one of the people from our dojo was backstage, like like trying to get a match, and I don't think she didn't land one because they didn't shoot the shows they thought they were going to shoot, like for dark and stuff like that. But I think she's in Oregon right now, and she's actively shooting with AEW right now, like as we speak. And these are people that like come to my gym, and they have the conversations about heat and what it means and what it doesn't mean, and why it's important and when it's not important, and these little things. But for me, even more so, before the heat, it's like you can't start a grill if like the spark thing doesn't work.
Yeah.
You got to know how to do the spark thing first. So you got to learn how to dance, and then when you learn how to dance, you can learn how to get heat along with it. And right now, I'm still, though understanding heat and trying to get ahead of the curve, I'm still really learning how to dance.
So when you're going and doing drills, is it just basically like kind of like what, like on how they've shown in documentaries and all that? Like they'll have you go run the ropes, play men in the middle, jump, and then be like, okay, let's see you take a flat back now after doing this and that.
No, not exactly. It's a lot like if you played sports in high school, like you had the things that you did for the first hour that you were there, that you pretty much did that same thing for that first 60 minutes every time. And so we do that. We do a lot of rolls. We take plenty of bumps. I'm just getting over a sprained ankle. So I have been trying to do as little motion that could possibly hurt that ankle as possible. But I've still gotten in there and, thrown myself at some plywood, as we call it, a few times. And so we take bumps, we take different kinds of bumps, and then we move into rope running and stuff like that. Then what we've been doing is actually learning the beginning of like the most common wrestling moves, right? So there's a sequence called the International, which is essentially, lock up, headlock, whip off the rope, shoulder tackle, up and over, hip toss. So you get ingrained in this thing that, like, if you say the word international at any wrestling show anywhere in the world, every single person knows what you mean. And depending on how you work it with the characters, the international can be a minute and a half. And a lot of matches, depending on where you're wrestling at, are only 3 to 5 minutes long anyways. So you can go and really learn the beginning of the dance in a month or two. And then transition to learning all the fancy become a character stuff. But so far we've been really just like international. And then now on Wednesdays where the pros go, I get to see like real wrestling. Like these guys,
like the magic, like on how to plan a match out.
Dude, so here's some insider information for you. So how they practice is they will go in there and they will set up matches with each other. And the owners or the guys running it, or maybe just somebody random, will give them a stipulation, but not a stipulation like it's a cage match or a falls count anywhere match. A stipulation like you can't throw punches, or no high flying moves, or whatever.
Arm drags are banned.
Exactly. And they put them with specific people that utilize those things maybe quote unquote too often in their matches. And it helps them become more well-rounded, because you learn literally in an active match how to run a match without those things that you just kind of fall back to all the time. Right. And then they always time them. Yeah. And then they always time them. And if you go overtime, well, I'll just put it this way, don't go overtime.
Like learning to work the commercials.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's cleaning the ring.
Yeah. So that's always been fun, and those are on like the pro days. At my place, it's like Tuesdays is like the actual like beginners class, and then Wednesdays is pro days. And Wednesdays I've only watched up to this point. I'm hoping that now that I'm back healthy, I can kind of jump back in there and maybe at least get my butt kicked by the pros a little bit.
Nice.
A little tip: I broke my ankle about like 3 months before my son was born. What actually helped me rehab it quick to where it was back to normal before he was born, my nephews wound up coaxing me into going into the swimming pool with them all that summer. So it was like 3 times. It was like for an hour and a half 3 times a week. I was basically doing hydrotherapy without even realizing it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's good.
So if you
I
can
also
get a
just got
chance doing something like that.
Yeah, I got acupuncture
Like,
for the first time too, which
oof.
yeah, that's oddly almost scary effective. I was a little skeptical, but immediately after, you know that it did something, and then now it's been like 48 hours, and I'm like, dude, it like loosened me up. Like I can tell I've got more movement already. So acupuncture helped a lot too.
I did kinesiology. I saw a kinesiologist for my lower back about a month ago, and my back was stiff, like you'd have thought it was like a 2x4. By the time he was done, it was like, oh my god, I could actually hunch over and like I had full mobility again. It was like, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
So if you're ever able to, man, that's definitely something to help. Because I that's so that actually brings up another thing I was going to ask you. Like, a thing I learned the hard way doing the backyard stuff is you got to learn on how to do preventive maintenance. So obviously you're just coming back from the ankle. Aside from that, like, are you building up like an idea of, okay, this is what I got to do to help make sure this don't get hurt, or I should see this guy to help prevent that?
Yeah, it's for me, again, this is another thing that I think is different for everybody. For me, this revolves around confidence and confidence in my movement, right? I'm a relatively high level athlete. Like I'm not like somebody that was ever going to play pro sports, but I definitely, if I wasn't such a degenerate, should have been playing college sports, that sort of thing, right? But what happened is I spent all this time not being an athlete, and I lost a lot of confidence in myself and the way that I move and the way that I carry myself, even to some degree. And getting in the ring, I didn't have a lot of confidence, even in like really simple things. And the thing that I actually sprained my ankle on was a flip bump, right? A simple head over feet flip bump. You see it, you don't even know you see it sometimes, but you see a flip bump probably twice, 3 times, sometimes 5 times a match, depending on who's in there. And I was learning how to do it, and I had done a flip bump, landed on my ankle wrong, sprained it to all hell, and then got back up, had too much adrenaline, didn't realize I had done it, jumped to do another flip bump and landed directly on top of my head. And when I came to, like I got that like, you haven't put the antenna on the TV yet vision. Shook that off, looked up, and shout out to, well, his name's Tony, but his wrestling name is Mickey Montoya. He's a spectacular in-ring wrestler, very Ricochet-esque. I think Ricochet is his favorite wrestler, and you can kind of tell if you watch him. He was training that day, and I just, every time I think about this, I can just see his face, and he goes, "You're not dead." And that keeps ringing in my head now, of like, you're not dead. Like there's a lot of tough stuff that you've got to do in the ring, especially when you're learning, and it's going to hurt. But you're probably going to be okay. And so for me, I just have to really instill confidence in myself that like these are things that I can do. Athletically, I can do all this stuff. And I just have to make sure that I hold that confidence so that I don't hesitate, because hesitation is what gets you hurt.
So what was it? What was it like after day one? After your first day, after you went home, called it a night. How are you feeling? What was on your mind?
So two things, three total. Most positive thing was the environment itself. So I can't speak for every wrestling dojo in the world or wrestling school, but at Dragonplex in Everett, Washington is a very positive environment. It is a cheer each other on kind of environment. It's a welcoming environment. And I felt really, really good about that because I was a little nervous that it'd be kind of high school sportsy, just getting yelled at for the sake of getting yelled at or something. And it was not that way at all. The second thing was tuck your chin. That was the second thing that came away from day one, because I didn't on my first bump. And there's two important rules. One is attack the mat. Don't just fall on it. You need to hit the mat or it's going to hurt. And then the other one is tuck your chin. Unfortunately for me, I'm really good at attacking the mat, but early on I was really good at forgetting to tuck my chin. And I almost knocked myself completely out on my first bump. And I will never do that again. So that was the other thing, was tuck your chin. And then the third thing was, genuinely, I'm getting trained by some people that are absolutely spectacular at this. That was the other thing that I left knowing, is that if I put the effort into it, they're going to get me where I need to go, because these guys are on a different level. And that's like Rebel Kell, Nathan Fox, and Mickey Montoya are the three that like have really had a huge impact on me so far. And then Dave Turner, of course, and Chris Ross, who owns it along with Dave, are just stellar pros, is how I would explain them. They just do a really good job.
Perfect timing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So trying to think the right. I had it, but now it's trying to break that mind mouth barrier. Sorry. So how do you see? So, given on how far you're going along, do you got a rough idea for yourself on how far you think it's going to take until you're done training, or do you feel like, yeah, maybe a couple more months, or like, I'm feeling confident, but I want to get razor sharp and I want to do it longer than X amount of time?
Great question. My initial thought was it would probably be end of year, most likely, that I would be ready to wrestle a full match. And then I thought, maybe because that would be the timeline, and this show in particular, it runs Peak, the show that's ran through Dragonplex to some degree. It runs once a month, and it kind of is on like an annual schedule thing, sort of. And so I thought maybe it would be January before I'd be wrestling or have an actual like part. Well, we just got booked. Oh, is this public? Well, it's public now. The Pete got booked at like a geek fest, like a street fair in our city in Everett downtown. That's got like 5,000-6,000 people come to it every year, and they got booked for like 6 hours of wrestling. 6 hours of wrestling is all hands on deck.
Yeah.
Does that mean that I'll be ready? No, not necessarily. But does it mean that I am going to train every minute that I can possibly train until the end of July to see if I can get ready? Yes, that is absolutely what it means.
Okay.
So we'll see.
It could happen.
Yeah, fingers crossed for you on that, man. I mean, I'm still trying to grasp the whole 6 hours of wrestling. Wow.
Yeah, it's 3 days.
That's
3 days.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say 6 hours. One day. Good God.
It's 3 days, but it's still back to back days of I believe 2 hours apiece is how they're doing it. Now, one of the days they're utilizing as their actual July show, so like the regular show that they put on every month that has storylines and all that. That's running one of the days, but then the other 2 days is 4 hours of wrestling that is, I mean, to my knowledge right now, is unbooked.
Okay.
So spots for the taking.
Yeah, we'll see. Now, I've got a lot of work to do, but I am also ultra confident. So we'll see.
I got nothing but the utmost confidence in you on that, man. Given everything you're saying, you sound like you got a good idea on what you want to do, where you want to go with it. So let me ask you this. Do you see yourself like wanting to go and try and do something like down the road with some promotion like an NWA, or maybe try and hit Japan or hit Mexico or something?
Yeah, I think for me right now, I am so completely in love with professional wrestling that like after my first match is done, like I already know, and I'm not like a super emotional dude. like I am like in expression and stuff like that, but I'm not like, it's tough to get me like teared up or something like that. Like I will be almost uncontrollably emotional after that first match is over. And like, I know that that's the case. Yeah. And so right now I can't like confidently think past that moment. I'm so like driven to get there and hear the first bell ring and then hear the second bell ring that I don't have a ton of plans past that, but I do know that I career wise I'm fine. Like I have a pretty darn good job. You know, I work in nonprofit land. It's like totally different. And it takes really, really good care of me. And so if I can wrestle once a month at Peak Sports in Everett, and that's the only thing that I ever do, that will still be so much further than I ever thought I'd be if you'd asked me 3 years ago if I was ever going to do it. So maybe that happens. But then again, Tim, maybe somebody sees a video of the character that I create dragging a baseball bat to the ring, likes the walkout song, likes the look, and sees that I'm functional enough in the ring and wants to book me. And I probably will not be the kind of guy to turn something like that down.
Nice.
That's like great, man.
We got we'll take you over to Mexico. We'll be your goons.
There you go.
We'll take you to AAA, MLL. You know what I'm saying? We'll get you out there.
Mexico's tough, man. Mexico's tough. That's a whole different
different dynamic. To get they do the main events in the middle of the show because people get so wasted and they are so violent.
But even the wrestling itself is different. So like in Mexico, like the professional wrestling is actually different, and that's why guys that come from lucha and other wrestling in Mexico and come to do it in America are so impressive, because even like the direction that you move, like if you go and watch a WWE match and then go watch a lucha show, you'll notice the guys move the opposite direction. In WWE, they're constantly moving clockwise, and then in Mexico they move counterclockwise a lot of the time. And yeah, so it's little intricacies like that makes it so impressive to come from that world and come over here. It's kind of like driving in Europe and then coming over and driving on the right side of the road in the US. It's a completely different movement, same dance, but opposite direction. And some of it can get kind of confusing. And it's impressive when they come over here and are still so successful.
And imagine one day you can take some guys over to Peak from AAA.
Yeah.
Come do some visits, some autographs.
Yeah.
A couple bumps for you guys. That'll be pretty cool.
Be great. Yeah. We'd love it.
We're gonna get your fan base started on Main Event Network. Don't even worry about it.
We're gonna have to find a name. Gotta talk to the higher ups, but we might be able to have you be a Main Event sponsored athlete.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. And I'd like to get to a place where I'm impressive first. And even, I obviously have been able to interact with both of you for a long time online, but there's a part of me that that feels so determined that I almost owe it to people to be super dope. If I'm going to start having conversations about sponsorships and even just coming on here to do this interview with you and have both you guys take an hour out of your day and talk to me about this, I need the end result to be sick. And that's what I plan on doing. So whether that's, you guys following along with me, and then maybe someday we throw your label on a pair of shorts, and
we're rooting for you, man. You're one of us. You're one of us. You're living the dream for us. So for us to see somebody like us work their way up that way, it's great, man. This is gonna touch people. Believe me, it's gonna put people in a positive light. Like, you know what? Maybe I can do this too. Never know.
And that's the main thing on why I started up the chats in the first place, is to give back, because I've been doing the online stuff for well over 10 plus years. I put a lot of energy into it, and I want to give a thank you to the other people that have gone out there and have done the same kind of work and and let them get a limelight, let them get the spotlight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even if mine's may not be the biggest, but I'm more than welcome to share mine with someone.
Yeah, and that's I like your guys' take mindsets. I've always liked the articles that come out of Main Event. I like everything that you guys do. I've watched the past podcast. I watched you guys' podcast from before. I really enjoyed that. I like the way that that there's a variation of people and talent that work with you guys that like write different stuff or talk about different stuff. I think that's cool. And I also like the some of the character breakdowns, right? Like I know that for example, you and I have talked about like Santos Escobar a few times and the development of that character. And he's somebody that like when I start thinking about who I want to be down the road, the way that he carries himself is so like I'm so like drawn to it, and it's so contagious. And he looks like, and the funny thing is he's kind of small, but he looks like the one dude that like if I saw him come out of a tunnel and pull that thing down from the top of his face, even if he's not hostile at all, I'm walking the other direction.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like
It's
that
the
that I
aura.
learned. Exactly. That aura that really, and I pick up on little things like that from some of the stuff that you guys do and some of what you write. So I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, man. That's right.
That's awesome, man. I'm getting the go ahead from my producer Wade, who, if you've watched the rants, you know on how much he can be an asshole sometimes. getting the go ahead from Wade to start to wrap this up. So Kyle, Alejandro, I always say this. Thank you guys for taking the time to come on here. Y'all could have been doing a million different things, Always appreciate, always thankful for y'all coming on here. Y'all are always welcome to come back anytime. Guys, got any socials, any plugs, anything you want to give a shout out on, by all means, the floor is yours.
All right, let's give it to Kyle for this one. This is his show. Tell the people, tell everybody where they can find you. Tell them what your name is in the ring and what's coming next.
I appreciate it. I'm KJ Rozcoe, Roscoe spelled with a Z on Twitter. That's where I talk about a lot of wrestling stuff. I'm Roscoe Rips 2 Z's on Instagram. But most importantly, the shout out that I want to give is to the guys that are already doing it, that are in the ring, that help me out a lot. So check out Peak Sports Entertainment. They've got a Twitter and an Instagram. They've got a show tomorrow. I'll be working crew. I'll be putting a ring together for the first time tomorrow. So check those guys out. And then a big shout out to the guys that have trained me. Rebel Kell, Nathan Fox, Mickey Montoya, Chris Ross, and Dave Turner. Anything that I've become comes from those guys.
Hell yeah. That's right. That's what it's all about, man.
That's awesome, dude. I know I sound like a broken record constantly saying that, but I always love hearing the positivity coming from the journey.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a beautiful story one day.
That's
right.
Yeah, Alejandro, you want to give your stuff? Got any plugs or shouts you want to give?
No, just find me on Twitter at the Great Brown Hope, TGR8, BRWN, the word Hope, at twitter.com, and you can catch all my blogs on Main Event Network. You can find me on Vicious Rants from time and time again, and maybe we'll do round 2 for this guy after he works his first match.
Let's do it.
Oh, definitely, man. We got to make sure we set you up on that. And because I know you put a foot in me sideways, because I didn't mention this last time we were on. The Vicious Karaoke Party is every Friday at 7 p.m. EST. It is what I've always liked to dub the most fun you can have the hour right before SmackDown. And every now and then, I'm never afraid to pull out a kazoo solo with a song.
Well, hey, man, you enjoy your wedding. Congratulations. You go and get fucking married. You are the man. Don't forget that we got your back.
Get yourself hitched. Have fun, dude.
Take care of yourself,
Appreciate you both. Thank you.
Later, guys.
Take care.